All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Two Podcast, episode 263. I'm your host, Brian. We have all of your Hollywood news, TV and movie reviews, and, of course, my Take Two. Thank you guys for joining in this week to Take Two Podcast. We have a great show for you guys today because we have 5 big reviews of movies and TVs and recaps that we're going to go over a little bit later. Also have a phenomenal interview. I'm not going to lie, folks. Some of the interviews that I get to do, I'm very hyped for. I know nothing about going in or the adverse. I know everything about going in. So I don't know which way they're going to go. I got to meet this gentleman, Joe TOWNE, did a little research on the guy, absolutely fell in love with the guy. He's fantastic. And then I had the honor of getting to chat with him. We were only supposed to do a couple of minutes. It's about an 18-minute long interview because he was fantastic to talk to and has a lot to talk about. That's going to be a little bit later on. After the review segment, after our first break, you're going to hear the entire interview with myself and Mr. Joe TOWNE. He's an actor, a writer, a producer. You name it, he does it. And there's a lot of good stuff. I don't want to spoil the interview because I want you to stick around to hear my chat with him. We also have, of course, our poll results, our box office, our Hollywood news. There's some bad news in there, some controversial news in there, some really hot topic-y type of things that we're going to chit about. Chit about? Chat about becomes chit about. Chit about. That should be the title of this episode. We're going to chit about it, folks. Let's all sit down and have a chit about, shall we? At Take Two Podcast on Twitter. Find us on Instagram, Facebook. You, of course, have the Take Two Podcast page. And then you have the Take Two Universe. That's our group page. That's something different. It's something extra. It's a bonus thing. Jump in there. That's the elite of the elite. You can become a Take Two Universe group page person. Join all of that today if you don't mind. Subscribe to our YouTube as well. And, of course, you can shoot us a text or leave a voicemail on 667-365-8253. That's 667-365-8253. Shoot us a text. Leave a voicemail. We would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. I want to send a couple of shout outs before we get rocking into episode 263. One to Bo, to John, and to Katz. You three gentlemen hit me up on the side. Some very, very nice, kind things to say. Our show has changed, shifting. More shifts are coming down the road since we hit this 5-year mark and what have you. And all three of you gentlemen had some very nice things to say over the weekend on our text message line and then personally on the side. I just want to shout you gentlemen out. And then Shy from the Friday Night Movie Pod is a fantastic individual. I got to see Shy this weekend. I got to see his sister, one of his sisters, 2 sisters and Shy do, Becky, Lily, and Shy do the Friday Night Movie Pod. I saw Becky and Shy. They were at the Baltimore Comic Con all weekend long. They were dominating the con. They were fantastic. I had to wait in line to go say hello to a friend of mine. I was like, hang on, I'll just wait back. I'll take a number before I can come up and say hi because they absolutely dominated all weekend. The only other domination they could do is if they got some more listeners. So, folks, if you're listening to my show and you enjoy the show in any capacity, check out Friday Night Movie Pod because it's a sibling thing. It's a fun dynamic. We've talked about them on the show before in the past. They are great people. And sometimes you just can't find good people, and they are the goods of the goods. Okay, Dune, Night Teeth, Titans, Only Murders in the Building, Last Duel. Those are our reviews for the week. We will be getting into them in a little bit. But let's get rocking. Oh, we have a What's in the Glass later on. It's going to be a good one. Actually, some of these What's in the Glasses I'll taste, I'll like, that's it. And then I forget about them. This one, man, I almost put the entire bottle away. Spoiler alert, the bottle's with me. If you're a YouTube watcher, look at this. Anywho, we'll talk about that What's in the Glass a little bit later on. That was a good time. But let's start things off how we normally do here. Take Two Podcast, episode 263. Thank you guys for joining. Let's start things off with the box office. Box office results. We predicted it last week. We just weren't sure how much cash Dune was going to get. Stand by real quick. Thank you. A little present for you YouTube watchers. Taking a swig of the coffee. Good morning, everybody out there in Take Two Podcast land. Episode 263. $41 million for Dune. That's great. That's, in my opinion, that is great. Day and date. You easily could have watched this thing on your phone, which is how everyone should have watched it. Joking, don't kill me, I duck. Oh, and I say that joke. We'll talk about that in the Dune review later. 4,100 theaters that they drop it into, and you could watch it on HBO Max. Spoiler alert, I did both. I watched it twice. Anyway, we will talk about that in a little bit. That's a lot of money. $41 million for a property. I know a lot of people either read the book, saw the previous things, but I spoke with a lot of other folks who were like myself, who just simply didn't know a lot about this project. I purposefully stayed back. I didn't want to know anything. I wanted to go in completely fresh, not having any conceptions going in. So for them to put in $41 million, this epic film, this thing that people kind of going into it knew that there was going to be, wasn't going to be a complete story type deal. That's good. In my opinion, that's good. $41 million is a lot of money. That's good for them, especially since they open up day and date as well. That is the biggest release for Warner Brothers with a day and date to speak of since they started doing these things, and they're supposedly going away in 2022. So Dune should win that forever. Have that little champion flag planted in their sand, and to spice it up a little bit. All right, next, number 2, Halloween Kills, $14 million. It puts it up at 73 overall domestically. They dropped it, down to 3,700 theaters. This is a 70% drop. This was very expected because reviews for the film are just not great. If you wanted to know my thoughts, rewind back to 262 and you will hear them. And they are comparable towards a 70% drop in the monies. And that's a bummer there because now this is the weekend before Halloween. If anybody were going to go to a scary movie, you wanted it the weekend before, and just, folks that saw it, they were good to go. Don't forget, also available on Peacock, so there is a factor there. No Time to Die coming in third place, $12 million. We're up to $120 total domestically, and we are over $525 million worldwide. Good for them. They're killing it worldwide at the very least. And now to have 120 domestically. Good. There you go, Bond. Way to go out there. Daniel Craig. Again, if you want my reviews, rewind, boop, 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 just a couple more back to episode 261, and you'll see my review of No Time to Die. Not great as well. Another film that I reviewed, not great as well, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Wow. All these movies I don't like. Interesting. Why do you guys listen to the show? 3,500 theaters, $9 million, up to 182 domestically. Good for them. Make that money as you can. Sony, you call it Marvel, but it is technically, this is a Sony, so it's in that influence, if you will. So they still make their cash. Good for them. Fifth place, new movie, Ron's Gone Wrong. Not a lot of chatter here about that. I haven't mentioned it on the show yet. Not a lot of publicity or marketing for this, but it does pull in 73 million? Nope, that's high. $7.3 million. Good for them. 3,500 theaters. That's awesome. Addams Family 2 in sixth place with another $4+ million. It is a shade under $50 million. We're sitting at 48 domestically. So you got to expect they're getting $2 million next week. Do it, man. Do it, Addams Family 2. That'd be a nice little return, $50 million. The Last Duel, one of our reviews for today, $2 million. Just not a lot of cash. It's not making any money, and it's very disappointing. Part of my review is going to speak specifically to that more people need to see this movie. It's made $8 million. Technically, it's in 5 weeks, but really like 2 weeks of full release, and that's not money. That's not good at all. Eighth place, Shang-Chi, another $2 million. It's a $220 domestically. French Dispatch comes out. Now, granted, that was limited. Only 50 theaters, but it makes $1.3 million. This week, actually, folks, it opens up wide, so maybe we'll see a little bit more money. I don't know. We'll talk about that next week when it opens up wide, see what it does. And then lastly, the Hanslarach film, $490,000, puts it up to 1.8. That rounds out your top 10. Out of the top 10 is Free Guy, Candyman, Lamb. They all dropped out. Dear Evan Hansen had already dropped out, but these movies are already all gone. But there you go. There's your top 10. Dune's your big winner. Dune actually made more money than I think some people predicted. I think they thought it'd be in that 35 to 40 million range, and it comes in at 41. So good for Dune, especially when it came out when you easily could have just sat in your home and watched it on your own home theater. All right. Done with our box office. On to our poll results. Did anybody watch the Knicks game, the Knicks opener against the Celtics? Oh, boy. I know this is a TV and movie thing, but you guys, I can't help it. I can't talk my sports. I'm repping my Giants. We got a win over the weekend. Boom, baby. There was a time another podcaster who's a Carolina Panther fan said that the Giants should cut Daniel Jones. They said cut him. And I commented, I said, sir, you know a lot about your movies, but maybe we should pump the brakes here because that's our franchise quarterback that you wanted to just cut. Oh, because he fell down while he was running one time. Whatever. Either way. So basketball is on the mind. Back to the Knicks. Great game against the Celtics, by the way, that they opened up. Phenomenal game. Basketball is on my mind. You had the Sky. They just won the championship for WNBA. NBA returned this past week. And then, of course, college basketball, my favorite sport, is starting up next week. We're getting into practices and scrimmages, and then the actual games get going within the next 2 weeks. So basketball was on my brain, and I asked the very simple question, folks. What is your favorite basketball movie? Now, here is the caveat, and it's hard to convey this through, the Twitters and the Instagrams. I just want to know your favorite. That's it. Your favorite. It doesn't have to be the best. And a lot of the answers here definitely adhere to that. But what is your, and this one I really wanted the comment below section. I actually love the comment below section. So I threw a few options out there. I even in the picture, even though you only get 4 to vote for there, I kind of threw some extra ones. Like, hey guys, you tell me your favorite basketball movie of all time. We got a lot of answers here. A lot, folks. A ton of answers here, and which is awesome, which is great. That's exactly what I want to see, is a ton of answers coming across the board. As we, sorry, I had a little pause there. Terribly sorry. There we are. Okay. We're going to have to edit later. Or will we? Maybe don't even edit. Forget it. It's our show. We can do as we please. Anyway, there's a little inside base for you guys. We had a technical difficulty. We're going to power through. We're just going to fight right through it. Again, Brian, Take Two Podcast, episode 263. We'd love to have you hit us up on all those socials. Here we go. Poll results come in. First up, the Twitter. Teen Wolf comes in as your winner, 46.9%, then followed by White Man Can't Jump at 25%, Hoosiers with 18%, and Love and Basketball 9%. Those are the 4 options that I gave. Those are 4 of my faves, so that's therefore why I put those 4 as the 4 options. But then, again, comment below, folks. Let me know your thoughts below, and we got a lot. So for Twitter, we'll start there. Dan Spadafore says Above the Rim or Air Up There, because who doesn't love some Kevin Bacon? Game for a Movie said Basketball. Shoot the Flick shot their shot and said White Man Can't Jump. Matt Adams went with the Teen Wolf. So there a little variety in that section there. Instagram, Bo. Love you, Bo. You gave me that lovely text on the side. Said White Man Can't Jump. Amendola, Danny Ammo said He Got Game. That was a very interesting choice. I did not expect that out of Danny. Might be because at the end the guy goes back to jail. Either way, Cats. I think Cats is a funny guy. I love you, Cats. You're fantastic. I have conversations with you all day long, buddy. He definitely overthought it, but he's also being silly because he said, Blue Chips is all about, cheating scandals. White Man Can't Jump is all about the street hustle. Teen Wolf is all about teen relationships. And Hoosiers, that's just about the joy of alcoholism, folks. Glug it up. I can't poo-poo that because I have What's in the Glass coming up later. I don't think Cats actually even gave a vote. He just said, but listen to that, Joe, to your comedy, Cats. A lot of the best sports films don't really focus on the game itself. Yes, if the team wins or loses, that can drive the movie. But the best ones, in my opinion, are the ones more about the characters and the people involved in said games and what have you. Over to Facebook. Yes, Facebook. I promised you guys that we would put this in the group page also so we could get a little more interaction, and we did. But first up, Craig jumps in there and says, Teen Wolf. He has the word boof tattooed above his, never mind, we'll talk about that later. Troy Ziegler says Blue Chips. Kat chimes in with Semi-Pro, the only vote for Semi-Pro, well done, with a gif of Will Ferrell. Take Two Universe, folks. Here we go. White Men Can't Jump got 3 votes. Space Jam got 3 votes there. Hoosiers grabs 2. Wolf, I almost said a Fall Street. Teen Wolf and then the Wayback each get a vote. And then Sean comments, I got to go Hoosiers because my wife is a Hoosier. You know me, I'm a Michigan guy. Here's the kicker. I know Sean very well. Sean's a Michigan and a Duke guy. Finish your sentence there. And how can you cheer for 2 teams? What if they play each other? That's the dumbest crap I've ever heard of, but you're a Duke fan, so that makes total sense. I don't think Sean listens, but whatever. He's a Duke fan, so suck it. Either way, he cheers for multiple. How do you cheer for multiple teams? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Regardless, Duke fans, what are you going to do? I just mentioned Daniel Jones 10 seconds ago. He went to Duke. It's his one flaw. All right, after all of that, I'm just going to declare Teen Wolf the winner. There you go. I dub it. Teen Wolf, you are the winner of the best basketball movie of all time. Favorite basketball movie of all time. I'm very upset that Love and Basketball did not get more love because I love Love and Basketball. All right. That is our nope, not our box office. That is our poll. I'm all out of sorts today apparently, and I didn't know why. That is the poll. Thank you very much, everybody. That drops on Thursdays. You can vote on that across all of our socials. I'm going to throw it back on the group page again this week, and comment. Let us know your guys' thoughts, and feel free to text. Shoot a text. Shoot a voicemail. You could voicemail. I mean, Cats, you had a long diatribe there. Shoot that voicemail, 667-365-8253. 667-365-TAKE. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's get going into our review segment, if you don't mind. First up is Dune. All right, leading into Dune, everyone said, gotta see this on the IMAX, gotta see this on the biggest screen. To me, that's a red flag. To me, that's a red flag when a lot of people say, "Ooh, gotta watch it here." Why do I gotta watch it there? Because of the cinematography? Because of the landscape that this filmmaker provides? Or because if I watch it at home, I'll get bored pretty easily? Which way is that going to go? Now, I'm an eternal optimist. Trust me, I'm still wearing Giants gear. So therefore, I usually adhere to, okay, well, they want me to experience this in the best way possible. That's this film, okay? That's this film. You want to experience this in the best way possible. I made jokes online about watching this on my phone, which some people did get fired up about. And I promise you, I did not watch it on my phone yet. Maybe later. Round 3 would be on my phone just for the hell of it, just to check all the boxes. All right, here's the reason you got to watch it in the theater. The cinematography is insane. Get ready not only for a nomination, but it's just gonna win for its cinematography, the landscaping, the absolute background, the set design, everything that they did with making of this movie is beautiful. It is a beautiful film to look at. The score, I enjoyed the score. It has a couple of wonky moments in there, maybe 2 on the nose moments, but I like that kind of stuff. So I loved the score. I thought it was really well done. It helped drive the film. To me, a great score is a third character in your film, right? And that does that here. So I enjoyed it. Your acting performances. I love to go towards the acting performance. Everybody did great. Nobody did a bad job. The standout acting performance was Chalamet to me, because I thought we were getting a character who was inept, who was timid, who was shy. Like there's scenes early on about, hey, you don't have any muscles by Momoa. And so I thought, okay, we're going to get a guy who doesn't know how to fight, who doesn't know how to defend, whatever. I was wrong. By the end of the film, Chalamet gives us progression. By the way, I will not spoiler anything in this movie, so you can listen freely. I will say, bored is too strong of a word. But I was kind of like, all right, cool. And I picked up 1,000 Star Wars references. And that's unfair to do, because how many films now take from the classics and try and mold and give their own? B, the books were written pre-Star Wars, so everyone's saying, oh, this is a Star Wars ripoff. How nerdy do we want to get on that? Like, was it? Or was Star Wars a ripoff of the Dune books? I don't know. Did Lucas read these books? Someone out there might know that answer, and please yell at me. I would gladly accept the knowledge. So to call it a Star Wars ripoff, I think, is lazy, but there are many, many things that happen in this. And you're like, well, that's okay. He used the voice. He used the Force. He might be the one. He might, bring balance to the Force. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay, cool. So with that, you would think that I would love this movie, that I absolutely would adore it. Like, yes, I'm well entrenched in the Star Wars world. Give me another world. This is different. These are all new characters. I'm loving everything Star Wars is giving me with Mandalorian and Ahsoka Tano and all that stuff. So why can't I just love this other aspect, right? I did not like it. I enjoyed my time with it. My attention was held the entire time. So to say I was bored is wrong. I think what happens is, and a lot of you, this isn't a spoiler, we are leading to a part 2. And literally, the very first frame of the film is part 1. So it tells you we're getting more. I want more, because I want to see the story completed. I want to see what happens next. We don't get as much Zendaya as you thought, but part 2 we will. We will get more. So is this an incomplete review because I have to wait until part 2 to come out? I feel that's lazy too. I did that last week when I talked about Halloween Kills. I can't fully review that movie until I see the third one. This one, actually, that's an actual sentence. I don't want to finish reviewing this film until I see what happens, because you don't know what happens until the end. Guys, if you have the opportunity to watch this on the IMAX, the biggest screen possible, run to your theater and do it. Put your mask on, grab your popcorn, take your mask off when you eat the popcorn, then put it back up. You know how to do it. But do that. I watched it a second time at home. My wife loved this movie. Like halfway through, I had to check in on her. Because she got a little cozy on the couch, pillow and everything. And I was like, uh-oh, she's checking out. I checked in with her. Nope, she was fully invested. And I asked her, I was like, are you good? You doze off? She was like, no, I really, really like that. Do you want to watch it again? I was like, oh, okay. And that doesn't happen a lot with my wife and I. Our tastes are different. So there's an audience here for it. My Dune review is that it is a good film. Give it 3.5 stars. But I just wasn't madly in love with it. This wasn't some mind-blowing epic story that I was really invested into all of these characters. There were little things, nuances that I didn't love. The armor that protects you unless the weapon is going in slowly. That sucks. So it protects me from bullets, essentially. But if someone wanted to just slowly stab me, they got me. You know what I mean? There are little things, but I'm being nitpicky there. I didn't engage entirely into the entire storyline. When I come back and rewatch this, before part 2 happens, I'll probably be like, all right, let's go. I'll watch it that day. I'll go to part 2. I'll probably love it. As of this moment, it was fine. Okay, it was fine. It is a beautiful film to watch. A beautiful thing to look at. But the story just didn't grab me in, now I want to see what happens with these characters. Chalamet is the only one that I was like, okay, I got something here, but I don't want to ramble too much, especially because I can't give away spoilers. But then again, it's weird because with this movie, what spoilers are there to give? There are spoilers to give. Anyway, go see the film. 3.5-ish, we'll call it stars. I'm on the positive side of it, but I promise you I am not one of these folks that are falling over backwards as the best movie of all time ever made. Because it's just whatever. All right, we're done with Dune. Let's move on. I have promised you guys that every week during spooky season we will be watching something scary that is new to me. Something new that I have not seen scary. Trust me, I've already watched Halloween and already watched Scream 1 and 2. I'm checking off all of my scary film boxes throughout this spooky season, as I love to do, and I'm sure you folks do as well. We may chat about that a little bit more going forward. But I watched Night Teeth, and this is the film that dropped on Netflix. It should have dropped on the 19th for the marketing. That's what would have been better, in my opinion. Debbie Ryan, Sydney Sweeney. It's whatever. It's just not good. It's not good. I really wanted to see Debbie Ryan. I talked the wife into watching it to me because I was like, hey, and then the Game of Thrones guy is in here. Alfie Allen is in there. So she was pumped. She was like, oh, Game of Thrones guy. Okay, I'm in. Let's watch it. It's just boring. It's vampires, but they've been hiding because we had this truce where the vampires and us won't attack each other as long as the vampires don't go into this section of the town in LA. But then one says, F it, I'm going to do it. And then there's a mistaken identity thing where they grab the wrong guy. He winds up getting involved throughout the whole thing. I wasn't familiar with Lucy Fry, with her work. Her and Debbie Ryan are actually pretty great together. She plays the bad, so Debbie Ryan's good. They're that yin-yang dynamic. That was cool. That's it. It's a vampire movie, kind of, but modernized a lot and coming out of the shadows type thing. Blah. It's just not a good movie. I'm trying to find what to say nice about this. Debbie Ryan not doing the Disney thing, that was more fun. Even my wife commented, she's like, well, I wish this was more rated R, so that if she's trying to go forward here with a non-Disney career, get away from the Disney, she could have really dove into that. But it's not. It's TV-14, so the kids can easily watch it. I think there's a little bit of gore, or maybe some language. I'm not even remembering. That's it. Language, gore, maybe. There's nothing drastic like smoking. Something ridiculous like that. Nor is there boobies or anything to that degree. Night Teeth, it's on Netflix. Man, have some drinks or whatever, substance you'd like to kind of relax with and watch this. And that's about it. But if you have any other scary film that you can watch, go that route. Sydney, Debbie, Lucy, the gentleman, Alfie. I look forward to your next projects. I do. I look forward to what you have next. But this one, not our best. Either way, it's on Netflix now. All right, moving along. Titans Season 3 has wrapped up. Season 2 of Titans was insane. It was so good. Season 1 was fine. Season 2 just went next level. It was like, all right, we have an audience. Now let's see what we can get away with. And they got away with a lot. Season 3 said, all right, let's try and now expand these characters, make them a little bit bigger, dive deeper into some. And I'll put it on par with Season 2. It was very good. There were just some aspects of it that I could have done without. There's a whole episode almost devoted to the afterlife and to being dead and maybe coming back from the dead. So Donna Troy and Tim Drake and stuff like that, they're trying to figure out the afterlife and stuff. Could have done without that. Red Hood in this, I don't know if it's the evolution of Red Hood, so he's getting more badassery, but when Red Hood and Scarecrow link up in it, I was kind of like, all right, Scarecrow's definitely running the show here, but I want Red Hood to be this badass dude. I want it, and he seemed a little, at times, sniveling, what am I, I have to do whatever Scarecrow says type thing. But you're Red Hood, man. You should be Red Hood. You should be terrorizing type scenario. Those are my knocks on it. Oh, no, excuse me. My biggest knock is Nightwing. He's such a punk. Like, he's a horrible leader. He really is a horrible leader of the Titans because he's just like, whatever, I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't care what you guys say. The rest of the team's like, well, we're supposed to be a team. Remember, we're supposed to group up. And he's like, nah, here's some kryptonite for you, Superboy. Now you can't stop me from doing whatever the hell I want to do. And then it gets him in trouble down the road. So hopefully season 4 is really about the team, which we kind of thought we were going to get by now. This is season 3, but still we have these rogue missions that these folks are on. I would love for season 4 to be more about actual Team Titans, them working together. We've now had 3 years of development and finding who they are as characters, and they've done a great job. They've done a great job with each and every one of them for the most part. But now I'm like, all right, let me watch the Titans fight somebody. Let's go up against some legit bad guys and have them fight, some villains. I would like to see, even bigger, badder villains. You've introduced Batman into this. You've introduced, you've talked about Superman all the time. You talk about Wonder Woman all the time. Give us some nods, give us some good stuff. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It was good. It could have been 3 eps shorter. There's some things in there that we could have trimmed out of there that would have made it fly even better. Kind of a leave them wanting more scenario. I think they should adhere to in the next season and maybe just have everyone group up better. All right, that's it for Titan season 3. I'm very positive on it. I'm looking forward to HBO Max season 4. Hopefully that comes around soon. Only Murders in the Building. This is on Hulu. Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez, and more. Because that and more, Tina Fey. You had some good cameos in here. That is a lot of fun, actually, when they show up. I liked this a bunch. Early on, it caught me. I was like, okay, let's see where it goes. Martin Short was kind of annoying early on, but then he kind of just grows on you. It's like, all right, the guy's just funny. Steve Martin is phenomenal in everything he does. And Selena Gomez, even by the end, kind of grew. I would love to see her given a role with like depth, because I felt like some of her character in this was purposefully supposed to withdraw, where we could have her as an actress really diving in deeper and getting more emotional. That was my only knock with Selena Gomez. I didn't think she did a bad job. I just felt like part of her character was she was supposed to withdraw. So was that her acting or was the character withdrawing? I'm leaning towards that was the character staying kind of a little bit reserved because she needed to remain shady to a degree. Anyway, this was fun. I enjoyed all of the eps. In the middle, there's a couple that meandered a wee bit, and there's a couple of side things. Martin Short trying to figure out who the murderer was by doing a Broadway audition thing, but it's all in his head. So now you watch this whole Broadway audition thing play out on stage with the other, people who live in the building. That was wonky. It could have done without it. That seemed like filler to me, almost a filler episode. If you go back to our Smallville days, Roy from the Realm used to talk about that all the time. Anywho, it's worth your time. It's fun. Spoiler alert, it gives you a cliffhanger going forward, which is fun. Like, I thought this was going to be a nice, wrapped, neat season 1 and done show, but no, I'm actually intrigued as to see where season 2 goes. It leaves you with, going forward. For those of you who figured out who the murderer was early on, good on you. I actually took me a second to get there. Little clues were dropped, and then it kind of points you towards that direction, towards the final eps, and then once it solidifies that's who it was. It's like, hey, I was right. But I talked to some other folks who are like, oh yeah, I knew years ago it was the dog the whole time. We know it. Anyway, Only Murders in the Building is fantastic. Check that out now. High marks from me. I'm finishing strong on purpose with those 3. Well, yeah, 19th is the only bad review I have. Dune, good. Titans, good. Only Murders, great. Last Duel, great. Last Duel, guys, you guys need to go out and see. You have to go see for a multitude of reasons. One, it's a fantastic piece of filmmaking. How this movie plays out is it's a true story, based on a true story, first of all, about a woman back in the 1300s who gets raped. And she accuses her rapist of raping her. And her husband then has to defend her honor. Her husband is a knight, accusing against the knight. This takes place in France. And so now there's a duel. And the old school knights, swords, javelins, or lances. Not javelin, that'd be weird. And what have you. How this movie is made is we see three stories told. You first see it from the husband, Matt Damon's perspective. How this entire story plays out, how he meets the wife, gets married to the wife, provides for his family, and then finds out that she gets raped. B, we see this from the raper, the friend, his perspective, Adam Driver. How he's buddies with Matt Damon. They fight together. And then he advances in the king's court, and whereas Matt Damon's character doesn't. But then he lusts after his wife, and you see all of that through his eyes. And then third, you see it through the wife, Jodie Comer. Jodie Comer. Can I not say any more about this woman? She's absolutely fantastic in this. She's having a great year. She was in Free Guy. You can't even tell it's the same lady, which just speaks to her performance abilities as an actress. You see it through her eyes. Throughout the storyline, you see how rape is discussed and not discussed from different eyes of different people. You see her friends turn on her. Like, you can't do that. You can't tell people that you're raped. What's wrong with you? You're wrong for saying that. You see her mother-in-law. Same deal. It happens. Get over it. Stand up. Do your duties as a wife. Your duties as a wife are to provide children. That's it. You're not providing children? You suck. Shut up about the rape. That's this mentality. And sadly, we have that mentality today with some people. And this is why I feel this film needs to be seen. Hey, it's a great movie to watch, okay? It gets a little lengthy. You know, you get into the third one with Jodie Comer. It's like, all right, I've seen this story, but there's enough nuances to see the differences of how it's perceived. His, hers, and the truth, right? That's every story ever out there. His, hers, and the truth when we find things out. So that's what this gives you. You see his perspective, her perspective, and then technically the truth is her perspective. So you get his, and the truth type perspective here. The movie is great. The cinematography is fantastic. There's a couple of battle scenes in here. The set design here, the landscaping of, I guess this was filmed in France. Absolutely beautiful. The castles, oh, beautiful. Absolutely breathtaking. Some of the castles and the horses and the farms, everything that they have is absolutely lovely. The acting across the board. Haven't even mentioned Affleck with the blonde hair. Fun stuff, right? You know, you have Kylo Ren and Batman in here together, hooking up with ladies of the night, if you will. It was like, oh, that's a funky scene to watch, but Affleck does a good job. Every acting performance here is absolutely fantastic. I loved Matt Damon, and I cannot say enough for Jodie Comer. She is everything about her. The scene when she does get raped is a rough watch, but needs to be watched. And there are parts in here that need to be talked about because things that happened in this film still are today's mindset. There are people that still feel that way. Just like, whatever, just you're a woman, who cares, just take it. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And granted, this is 1300s. It's mind-blowing that they needed to seek permission to accuse her rapist because, the husband needed to seek permission to now present this in front of the court because this was his property that we're talking about that now is dropping this accusation. And now the way they find out the truth is through a duel, and God will then tell us the truth by whom wins this duel. So you're going to have to watch the movie to find out who wins or loses the duel. But basically, she was or was not raped based on who's going to win the sword fight. That's the dumbest crap of all time. But this is the mentality of then. So either way, I think people should watch this. One, because it's a very good movie. It is a interesting filmmaking style where you see the three different perspectives. And then the acting performances are top notch. I expect Jodie Comer to get a nomination at the very least. I would love to see Matt Damon get one as well out of this. But then B, just for the subject matter, just to put the subject matter in everybody's brains, because it's not talked about enough to the point where enough men out there need to be better and women out there need to stand up for themselves too. That sentence came out really wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say, hopefully, in there, where this subject matter needs to be talked about more often because it's still ridiculous here in 2021. All right, off my soapbox there. Last Duel, 5 stars out of me, 4.8 stars, whatever. It's a fantastic film that everybody should see, because it is a good movie. All right, moving along. We've been rambling too much. We're going to take our first break of the day and be right back. I talked about Joe Towne a little bit ago, and you're going to hear our 18-minute interview. First off, the gentleman's an actor, so I love talking to any... You guys know that I enjoy acting as a hobby myself. And so anytime I get to talk to another actor, it's just fun. Because you can talk like behind the curtain stuff, you know. But he has two things. He has one thing, the performer's mindset, which is all about your mental state going into performances, whether it is acting, whether it is athletics, or whether it is your everyday life and like business executives. This is a company that he has helped start and they run, and it will help people like yourself, the listener.
hear him chat about that in a little bit. And then he has a podcast called The Better Podcast, and it's all about just being a better person. So I forgive me for talking personally during this, but a lot of what Joe talks about spoke to me specifically. And I hope it does for you too, because now that I got to actually speak to Joe, I saw that he's actually a really great guy. He's also a Yankee fan. Doesn't hurt. But what he's on top of here is some really good stuff. And I think everyone should stop and take note, literally pen and paper, take note of some of the things he's talking about, and then go subscribe to his podcast. Okay, enough out of me. 18-minute interview. Folks, thank you very much for listening. Here is my chat with Joe TOWNE. Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of Take Two Podcast. Joining me today, I have a director, a writer, a producer, an actor, pretty much everything you can name, Mr. Joe TOWNE. Joining me, I'm very excited to chat with this gentleman. This is going to be a lot of fun because there's like a lot of things we're going to talk about, all within that realm. And I might try and talk some curveball-y stuff too, because there's a little nuance with his birthday that personally I have a connection with too. He doesn't know about that yet. Yeah, tease him there. Mr. TOWNE, how are you, sir? Thank you for joining Take Two Podcast.
I'm doing just great, Brian. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to chat.
Okay, I'll get it out of the way. Your birthday's April 24th?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is going to score me some points here. That's my wedding anniversary.
What? That's awesome.
Wait, let me try it again. That's my wedding anniversary. Woo! In case the wife listens, just in case. 6 years. We've been married 6 years, going on 7 years.
Congratulations.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I saw that. I was like, oh, I know that date. No. So very exciting. Okay, so let's start off with some acting things because you are an actor. And I enjoy acting. I started this podcast because at one time I enjoy acting as a hobby thing, and then I like talking about it. First thing is you were in Isn't It Romantic?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was a blast.
Were you in the Whitney Houston singing scene? Hopefully singing and dancing in the background, I hope.
Gosh, that would have been such a blast. That was one of my favorite sequences. There were a couple of great dance and singing options in that movie, and I actually barely missed one. Just I was in town in New York for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my main thing is in the subway with Rebel Wilson. She kind of accosts me asks me to hit her in her,
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Very cool. Gotcha. I love that scene. There was a time where we had a thing called like a man card and all that. Thankfully, that kind of mindset's kind of out the window now. But we all had like some songs that maybe you didn't like to admit that you love, and Want to Dance with Somebody has always been mine. So,
it's such a groovy one.
Yes.
It definitely, I get it. And it reminds me of Hugh Grant, right? Didn't he do a whole Whitney Houston dance in Love Actually and just let his freak flag fly?
Can't beat it. All right, but upcoming acting things. It's spooky season, so we have to. You just finished filming Dead Season 2, which is all about zombies.
Yeah, they're back. It was a really exciting thing. We got to shoot out in Hawaii, which felt really exciting. It's my favorite place on the planet, and getting to breathe in that fresh air and run around and being chased by high-speed zombies was a blast.
Oh, okay. So these ones are like high-speed ones, or they're like high-functioning
zombies? Yeah, they got a little of both. The fast ones have a special sort of relationship to why.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I feel over the last few years we've like evolved our zombie. Some it's just gone from the days where they crawl out of the ground in Michael Jackson's Thriller. Now they can do things. They can talk. They can open doors.
I wish that these did a dance sequence because that was incredible. I mean, at every wedding I go to, I try to recreate Thriller.
Exactly. You and I are big on the dance sequences right now, and I'm enjoying it. We're going to do a whole special, spin-off show just on dance sequences. But awesome. All right, so when that comes out, I want to chat about it. VOD, that's coming out soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. Okay. I know that the other one made it onto Netflix, so awesome. I assume they're probably going to bring that one back and then release the next one.
Gotcha.
Hopefully, maybe a little theatrical experience too. We got a great cast.
Dead Season Part 1, folks. Go watch that now because it's still spooky season this week that we still have a little bit of time. Also, something you can watch is that you were in the remake of The Omen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did get possessed by the young devil, and I'm sorry, Julia Stiles' character, I did a terrible job protecting her.
That poor lady. You and I were talking briefly real quick, like slasher movies. I'm all about slashers, but all right, so being in that realm, on set when you're doing demonic type stuff, is there any type of, because you're not being chased by a guy with a knife, but now you have to go that possessed route, and now you're invoking the fear. Any thoughts in acting differently in that realm?
Well, I mean, for me, the main thing is always using imagination instead of using and drudging up sort of old things. I'm really into being psychologically healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
so I also feel like it's less limiting. And I've been really fortunate to have some teachers that, you know, had to run into some of those issues themselves and pay the price over many years of drudging up things and the impact of that. So I just feel like we have unlimited options when we use our imagination. But the other part of it is, how do you like cleanse yourself when you're back? You know,
Sure.
like what kind of ritual do you need to sort of remind yourself, oh, people, right?
Yes.
Child, wife, you know,
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
necessarily sneaking around and jumping every time you hear a sound. So
Speaking of wife, your spouse is in the business. Does that help? Does that help being an actor? And then she kind of knows what you're going through and can kind of help you with what you're going through, and vice versa.
yeah, we met as actors. So I think there was a lot of helping each other out and exploring craft and getting to run things together. And we always had sort of super fun, friendly competitions that where whoever won, actually we both won. But I think the idea was it sort of spurned ourselves on, and it was really fun to collaborate in that space. And then as she started writing, you know, we got to read each other's drafts of things. We've collaborated on some short films, and now it's so great to get her insight on some of the things that we don't often get to think about as actors. Like, what is it that perhaps a showrunner looks for from an actor's tape when they have 7 to 30 seconds to make a decision about the next step? So
Yeah.
those things, I think that perspective is really useful.
That's awesome. Super helpful. Super helpful. And you guys working together, that's awesome. You yourself, like I was mentioning earlier, you've directed, you've written, you have producer things that are upcoming. I assume at some point we could find you holding a boom mic offset, maybe.
Let's go. I'm happy to help. You know,
Right.
being raised in the theater, one of my professors at USC, he actually had a class called experimentals. You could basically do whatever you wanted to do. So they did a stage version of Clue back in the day. We did stage versions of Reservoir Dogs. And we actually created a show called the Star Wars Trilogy in 30 minutes on stage in half an hour. And it was sold out at USC. We went on to do it at the Edinburgh Festival. It ended up touring, playing at like everything from Comic-Con to we went to Skywalker Ranch and performed for George Lucas and his company.
No way.
And that opportunity was born out of everybody learning every position. You know, you had to build the sets, you had to run sound, you had to basically hold the boom, but in the theater. And it just gave such respect for what crew has to do, and you know that we're all in this together.
Yeah, and crew and what they do is a hot topic right now with their contracts and what have you, and some things happening on the set. So hopefully things people underrate what the crew do or don't know. I would say I probably would never be more nervous in my life than performing in front of George Lucas, something Star Wars related.
Oh my gosh, it was such an honor, and of course we wanted to do a great job. He brought his son. His son had a blast, and you know they sort of packed some different spaces for us to do it a few different times. And he was very kind. He came up and spoke to us afterwards, and we had his blessing to do the show because his directing teacher at university was the same person that was our professor. And so they'd known each other for quite a while. And we felt really fortunate to be able to do that.
All right, you're mentioning teachers, you're mentioning learning from people. So one of my other hobbies, I coach my daughter's basketball and softball teams. And part of coaching the philosophy that I and my sister helps me is all your mindset, your positive mindset. We've had a couple of girls who just are horrified to swing the bat, and we've tried to get them like, I'm going to get a hit. Don't get up there thinking what's the worst thing that could happen. Just walk up there, I'm going to get a hit, and that happens. Sometimes it works, and they're like, Coach, you're a genius. I'm like, I have my fingers crossed the whole time. But either way, they made me look like a genius because these ball players are good. They just had to adapt to their mindset, the positive way of thinking. You are involved in the performer's mindset, which you would immediately think from an actor, this is all just acting based, but also it deals with athletes and then just business execs and then everyday life, your mindset of how you approach things and go throughout your life, not only before, but during, but then also after, which I found very interesting. Can you elaborate more on the performer's mindset?
Absolutely. You know, I think for me, it started with, I grew up loving sport. I think I wanted to be a baseball player for a hot minute before I became afraid of the high inside fastball. But as an artist, I always struggled with feeling confident. And I know that athletes are known traditionally for their mental toughness, their ability to be confident in their own self. And it was some early conversations with some professional coaches who had continued to be around the realm of sport, who started to inspire me to understand that artists had a lot to learn from athletes. And after having a few athletes into our space, we actually learned that athletes could learn a lot from artists. And so the intersection of art and sport has always fascinated me. And I think what I'm realizing is that we're all performers. Coming out of this pandemic, hopefully, I've realized whether you're getting on a plane for the first time in 18 months, or you're, coming out to your parents, or you're getting up to bat, we all have to deal with getting switched on for what feels like a big moment, a pressure moment. And then sometimes we have to come down from those moments. And so there's a lot of generally good advice that's thrown around, like just relax.
Yeah.
Right. But how? How can I do that? And how can I do that when what I'm about to do might change my life? That's what we're interested in, is robust tools that are backed by science, that are simple and repeatable, and that we can personalize. We don't want to break what isn't broken. We do want to empower people before, during, and after.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So anybody can sign up and get, do you do this out of a location, or can we do this online? Can someone?
Yeah. So it started in person, and we did a lot of it here in Los Angeles, and then we took it on the road. We were in Canada, all across Canada. And last year, the blessing and the curse is that we started to adapt to being able to do this over Zoom. And so we've gotten real good at making sure we can still connect, deliver, engage, and take breaks. Like, I think recovery is one of the primary things that athletes can teach artists about. And so we've found ways to build that into our programs. We just came out of doing one of our advanced weekends. It's like 16 hours over an intensive weekend, but it doesn't feel like it. It flies by,
right?
Because we're having too much darn fun.
That's awesome. I'm big into that, the mental aspect of everything, of sport, of performing, and just your daily life of just all right. So inside baseball here, my daughter, I tell her every Monday, this is the best day of the week, because it's the only day of the week that you can say, I'm going to rock it this week. And it annoys the living crap out of her. She hates it. And she's like, no, Dad, it's Monday. Everybody hates Monday. And I said, that's the point. Let's look forward going to Monday. So one day when she hears this, she'd be like, why did you tell people our secret? Either way. But so I absolutely love that is an aspect that you guys are taking a hold of. Performers mindset, folks. I'll tag it on all of our things so you can get to it a little bit easier and look into it. I absolutely love it. I wanted to dive even deeper when I started looking on there. Unfortunately, you're also a podcaster. So we have to talk about podcasting too, which is great, which is awesome. Yeah. The Better Podcast, which is a similar realm. You're talking about being a better you. My New Year's resolution this year was be better. Literally, that was it.
Wow.
Be better. And I just thought, I can't change everything. I'm not going to lose 40 pounds tomorrow, but I can at least today try and be a little bit better in just the one little thing that I do. Maybe I don't need to beat that red light right now. I can just slow down and just be a little bit better in my driving, et cetera, et cetera. And then I started listening to your podcast, and I was like, this is exactly what I was thinking along these lines. Just trying to be better a little bit each day in your daily life. That's awesome. Where did you start? Where did you come up with this concept, and how did you finally hit record on this?
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think for a lot of us, the beginning of the year, the tabula rasa, the clean slate, really is a time when we can start thinking ahead and dreaming about improvement. And a couple of years ago, disclosure, I always pick a word of the year. It's been a tradition the last maybe half a dozen years. And I put it on a coin, and I put it on my wrist. So I could see it every day. And my word a couple of years ago was better. And the idea was, how can we be getting 1% better over time? How can we be inspired by athletes like Kobe Bryant, who sought to get better in every part of his life, whether it was creative or with his daughter or with coaching or with playing? And what are the mechanics of that? Because like you said, I might have this goal, but we rise and fall to the level of our habits. So I'm having all these insights from other people's podcasts. I'm devouring these books on science-backed practices. And I'm really excited to have these conversations in coffee shops and at dinner tables and in my coaching sessions. And almost inevitably, I walk out going, I wish we had recorded that. And so I was just tired of hearing myself say the same thing over and over again. I was encouraged by a few of my encouragers, my chief encouragement officers. And, I decided, this is the time. So my hope is that we can share a few nuggets that other people can use to ease a little bit of their suffering and maybe empower them to feel a little bit more like their habits are serving them over the long haul. And so let's learn from the world's best creatives from a ton of different perspectives, from chefs to speakers to trainers for the 76ers to upcoming showrunners, actors. We've got it all, but it's really been such a joy for me to learn in these conversations. I'm hungry and I'm just so grateful to be able to have them. So
hungry is the word. I think your most recent or if not most recently is the young lady with the cooking, and she moved to Italy and whatnot, and just talking about food. A, made me very hungry. B, I've been to Italy on our honeymoon, and it just brought me right back there to the phenomenal food that they have. But to that point, you're mentioning anyone listening is thinking, I don't know if I want a self-help podcast. You just have conversations with these folks, but it's from all walks of life. This lady is a chef. Culinary is her thing. But then, as you mentioned, performers across the board. I loved your question of if you were a country, what would your country be like? Telling people like welcoming. I was like, that's actually a really fun thought, a fun thing to think. What would you, if you were a country, accepting people in? I like also the way that you edit in little fun facts. I didn't really know what a truffle was, but then thanks. You let me know how and how expensive truffles. I didn't realize you'd get that much cash. I'm digging through my backyard now. I was like, wait a second, $1,000 a pound? Let me get out here and see if I can find some mushrooms. But that's really awesome. Oh my gosh,
if you discover some, please invite me over. I'll bring fresh pasta.
Done. Fantastic. Folks, the Better Podcast, again, I'll try and tag it on all of our stuff for you, but check it out today because it's more of just a fun, more conversation that I think is uplifting and inspiring and helpful to people. And I really enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's such a blast to do it. And those drop-ins are super fun because I feel like I get to talk directly to whoever might be listening. And I appreciate you doing that.
Rock and roll. Joe, we have to have you back on down the road, especially when your zombie movies come out, when some things come out later on that you're already working on, producing things. Before I let you go, we already talked sports. You have a New York background. You're from New York. So Yankees, Mets?
God, we only had one rule in our house growing up. No Jets, no Nets, no Mets. It wasn't actually a rule. But I went to my first Yankee game with my dad. I saw Dave Winfield play, and I immediately was like, he's my favorite player. So I grew up in a household filled with Yankee fans. And, it's been an up and down period of time. My love and frustration with being a fan. I don't love when fan bases tilt from confident and playful into, being a little bit obnoxious.
Sure.
And so I struggle with that on occasion. We're certainly not the only fan base who does it. But I'm mostly interested in, cultures and coaching that is uplifting and inspiring. And so on the other side, Pete Carroll was a coach at my alma mater at USC for about 10 years. And I couldn't believe what he was doing on the field and some of the things that I was reading about that he did off the field. And so when he went up to Seattle, I just became excited to see what the experiment would do. And he's had a lot of consistent success. And I had the good fortune of being able to meet him briefly at midfield after a practice a few years back. And he was so present and so loving to a complete stranger. And I will never forget the conversation that we had. So that's really what inspires me the most about sport is the stories and the philosophy.
Beautiful. Very nice. I born and raised in Maryland, but my mom's side's from Manhattan, and we were brainwashed Yankees and Giants fans. So you're okay. We're in the same fan base.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, Dave Winfield, you're aging yourself a little bit there.
Yep.
Could have fibbed.
He just was he was just in the stands not too long ago, sort of for playoff baseball. So that was pretty exciting. Gotcha. But it wasn't him in the Padres, it wasn't him in the Blue Jays. But I was a fan in the womb. What can I say?
There's no argument against it. And at this point, 40 plus years in, I'm pot committed. So we're just going to stick with it, even if they just signed the manager to 3 years and I don't want him. But either way, that's a combo for another day.
Absolutely.
Joe Towne, thank you so much for coming on Take Two Podcast. I desperately want to have you back on anytime you want to come chat movies or podcasting or even baseball.
I'd love it, Brian. Let's go. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And thanks for the invitation to talk about better.
Thank you, sir. Rock and roll. Let's get rolling into the trailer talk segment of Take Two Podcast, episode 263. Trailer talks. Here we go. Uncharted dropped. This is Tom Holland, and this is his non-Spider-Man-y show here that's going to be dropping in February. We talked about this. Mark Wahlberg also in this, amongst some other heavy hitter actors. Talked about this casting. This movie has been tried to get made for a long time. They had different actors attached to it for a while. Finally, Holland got it. This is an action adventure type film. My issue is, it looks like he's playing Peter Parker again. Like, is this just Holland? Is this just Holland's style? Because I've been on record on this very show as say this kid's path is to King of Hollywood level. Give him a few more years, give him a few more projects. He gave the mannerisms that we're getting from this Peter Parker character that are very similar in this. It could just be this character. That's fine. He definitely also, though, gave a little more cool points. He's bartending. He looks muscular. He's wearing tighter shirts. So that, I was like, okay, so maybe it's not the same. But some of the comedy, I was just like, oh, that's very Spider-Man-y. Nah. That's the most negative thing I can say here. The movie looked fun. Looked like a fun movie. Action adventure. Him, Wahlberg, he's chasing after gold treasure. Apparently this treasure they'll find is worth $5 billion. That's nuts. Good for them. Being the Ricardos just dropped their teaser trailer. This is coming out into theaters December 10th. And then on Amazon Prime, 12/21. J.K. Simmons, Javier Bardem, and Nicole Kidman doing the Ricardos. When they first talked about this, we were like, ugh, what are they going to talk about with I Love Lucy? And then we learned, okay, they cast Kidman. All right, that's interesting. What are we doing? This is more so about the behind the scenes. This isn't really about the comedy of Lucille Ball. This is more the behind the scenes of getting this show made. A woman in this profession back then, still to this day, making her mark, how she needs to make her mark. That's what this looks like, this film. This film is more dramatic than comedic, obviously. It's about Lucille Ball, so there's going to be some comedy in there. You know, Lucy and Ricky are phenomenal. They dominated the airwaves for so long. And I'm intrigued. I'm very interested. I actually kind of want to see this in theaters. I don't know if I want to wait the 11 days to wait until it comes on Prime. We'll see what my schedule plays out there. And, you know, Kidman can do no wrong. She's a phenomenal actress. The Lost Daughter. The reason I want to do this one, this is our last trailer. This comes out on Netflix on New Year's Eve, 12/31. Olivia Colman, Dakota Johnson in this one, and it looks trippy. It looks weird. Olivia Colman's on holiday on a vacation on some beach, and while there, she runs into these families, these other women who have children, and they question her, "Where are your kids?" She's like, "No, I've got kids. They're just not here." But something's up with Olivia Colman. She's got some mental issues. She can't remember her children, but she knows she has them, type thing. One of the kids' dogs goes missing, so now there's turmoil. This is booked as a very psychological type dramatic film. The reason I want to see this is because I'm in love with Olivia Colman. I think she is phenomenal. She is one of the best actresses we have working today. She's in the upper echelon for Hollywood royalty, in my opinion. And I want her to win so that we can get another acceptance speech, because her awards acceptance speeches are the best. She has a couple of drinks, she gets up there, rambles on, and she just has this innocence and this brilliance about her that I absolutely adore. So there you go. There's our trailers. Uncharted comes out in February. Being the Ricardos comes out in December. And then Lost Daughter comes out at the very end of December. That is it for the trailer talk section. Now we're moving on to our casting couch. That Oppenheimer film that Chris Nolan's doing. We already know that Cillian Murphy is attached to play Oppenheimer. For the World War movie, we have added Miss Blunt. That's not bad. Emily Blunt added to any cast makes things automatically better. She's busy. She's got Jungle Cruise 2 coming up. She's got a ton of things happening. But hey, if she's going to take on a Nolan project, woohoo! I'm all in on that one. Lee, this is the true story about World War II, a model photographer who then became a war photographer. Kate Winslet, Marion Cotillard, and Jude Law. That's the main part of your huge cast that is going to be in the film. Lee. Looking forward to that. The Barbie movie. We already know Margot Robbie is going to be in that, or Robbie, whichever one it is. Either way, she now has her Ken. Who would you want to be Ken to your Barbie? Why not Mr. Ryan Gosling? Obviously, the guy's decently looking on the eyeballs. Cool. Movie called Hello Tomorrow. Series. Billy Crudup is in this. They add Hank Azaria, Allison Pill, and Dushane Williams to that. Mr. Billy Crudup. I am a golden god. Oh, trivia time. Cass, last week was our first ever trivia time winner. Here we go. Here's your trivia time for this week. What movie did Billy Crudup scream, I am a golden god? There's your trivia time. First person to text in, call, leave a voicemail, or hit us up on socials in any capacity for your trivia time winner. You get a little prize from me, 667-365-8253, or any of the socials. I am a golden god. What film did Billy Crudup say that? Okay, movie called Freelance is an action comedy, and it's going to be starring Mike Cena? Nope, pretty sure his name's John. John Cena. You can't see Michael, but you can see John in this action comedy called Freelance. And the Pierre Morel, who directed The Takens, is going to be doing this one. So we know he knows about the action thriller part. Can he enter in the comedy? Cena carving out a nice little lane here. A nice lane for that career of his. I'm enjoying it. And lastly, the Ahsoka Tano series is a go. And we just found out. Get excited. Yes, Hayden Christensen has been cast to return as Darth Vader in the Ahsoka Tano series. Who is giddy about that? I am guilty. Give me some more Darth Vader and Ahsoka Tano. Yes. Yes. That's going to be so good. Can't wait for it. All right, that's it. That's it for the casting couch. Now on to a little what's in the glass. Boom, 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 doom, 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 doom. Why am I humming Enter Sandman by Metallica? Because Metallica has a whiskey. It is called Blackened. I'm holding it up for all of you YouTube watchers. I just smiled, so we'll screenshot that so we get a good picture. Me and Metallica's whiskey here. This is Blackened is the name of the whiskey. This is the whiskey that Metallica, the band, they're a music band, kids, for those of you who don't know. Hardcore rock and roll, heavy metal, if you will. It's a straight whiskey, 45% alcohol, 90 proof, so it's not overly strong, but it gets the job done for sure. And they put it in brandy casks as it ages. I would tell you this, folks, it is good. And when I say it's good, I mean it is good. Had some the other night, and I was like, oh, this comes in my Whiskey of the Month Club. I'm in a Whiskey Bourbon of the Month Club, and I'm very impressed. Had some, immediately went for glass number 2, let the wife try some. She's not the biggest bourbon whiskey fan, but she'll always try a swig, and she very much enjoyed it. In fact, enjoyed it too much. I need to hide it from her. And then went back for seconds, had some again last night because I very much enjoy it. So Blackened is the whiskey. Pick some up at your local distillery today. Find some wherever you can, but that's Metallica's. And then, of course, obviously, God, I've made this joke 7 times. I'm going to do it again. If you have too many, then immediately we'll enter the Sandman. Good night, everybody. All right, thanks. That is going to do it for our second act. Now let's take a quick breather and be right back for the third act and final act of our show. Bad news. Bad news on Thursday. Driving my car and got a car in front of me on the left lane. I'm driving in the right lane. Driving the speed limit. The speed limit is about 45, 50-ish, and that's what we were doing. We were doing about it because we're coming up to an intersection that had a light. Now, the light was green, but either way, about 50 miles an hour we're both going. Cars about a car length in front of me, they lock up their brakes. So immediately I start to touch mine, curious as to why. I find out why. It's because a big boy, I mean a big deer, 8-point buck, 12-point, when I retell the story, 15-point buck comes right in front of my car. I had no chance, 0 chance whatsoever. The deer had no chance. Could have looked both ways maybe or used the crosswalk, but I plowed right into the guy. Sent him flying. The deer went flying in the air, skids across the ground. And then hops up and just kind of like tramples away. It's like, all right. So I hop out. I was leaving a softball game. I'm on a co-ed softball team Thursday nights. I'm leaving that game. That's where I was coming from. Hop out. I immediately check on the car behind me. Are you guys okay? They're fine. They're like, are you okay? You're the one that just rocked the deer. I said, yeah. Turns out it's 2 of the girls from the other team that we just swept. We just waxed them, actually. I was like, if that's not embarrassing that you guys got to see that. Either way, everybody was fine. Nobody was injured. The car, some serious damage. Got my baby. Look how they massacred my boy. It was a bummer. But careful, folks. It is fall. It is fall. We're October, leading in November. This is when the deer are out. It is hunting season with the cars. Apparently, luckily I put the car in. It's just body damage for right now, so it is what it is. But just a little PSA: be careful out there. I stood no chance. I felt bad. I was mad because there was nothing I could do. Rocked it. Luckily, just body damage. All right, moving along. Let's jump into our Hollywood news. Hollywood news. I didn't mention this last week, but I wanted to let everybody know. Curb Your Enthusiasm season 11 that did just drop the other night. So look for your Curb. If you're a Curb fan, you need a little comedy in your life. That is back. Old Larry David is back for Curb season 11. Sad news. First up, Peter Scolari passed away. That's a bummer. Only 66 years old. He, of course, probably most well known for being Tom Hanks's number 2 in Bosom Buddies. He has had a healthy career. I know a lot of people, that's like a fun thing to say, like, oh, whatever happened to the other guy? When Tom Hanks becomes the greatest actor of all time, and then who happened to the other guy? Peter Scolari actually had a great career after him, but sadly he just passed away, only 66. And then we kind of knew this was coming. James Michael Tyler, who played Gunther most famously on Friends, he's had cancer. We knew about this. We learned about this because he didn't go to that Friends reunion thing a couple of months ago. And everybody was like, why wasn't Gunther there? They got everybody else to show up. And the reason was because he had to be at home because he was doing therapy for his cancer. And sadly, the cancer has won out. Passes away at 59 years of age. So both of those actors leaving impressions on our lives forever. Sad to see both of them go. Moving along out of the rest in peace to some more happier news, hopefully. Let's see. Oh, they talked to the WB execs, right? Talked about Dune a little bit ago. If you remember my review of The Many Saints in Newark a while ago, right after that, David Chase signs a deal to a 5-year deal with HBO Max. HBO Max exec comes out and says, oh yeah, we've got a lot of things in the works. We're really looking forward to that Dune sequel. And we know that we have a nice series involving the Sopranos universe coming up soon. And also, we're probably not done with The Matrix. I'm paraphrasing. That's essentially what that person said. That says we're going to get a Dune Part 2. We're going to get that Many Saints series that we all want. And then we're going to get The Matrix Part 5. Groovy. Awesome. The Sopranos series is the main key there for me because Many Saints movie was fine. But to me, it led towards, now what? It just left it with, now what? Now I want to see what happens next. This gives us more credence towards we will get that Many Saints in Newark series going forward. Hopefully they get a better title, to be honest with you. It's just a long title to say. Either way. So that's their good news. All right, now to some bad news and some rough stuff. We put this on our socials. Alec Baldwin was involved in an accident. I will say that more details are coming out, so there's not a lot I can say, but basically there's a scene he's filming where he fires a gun. He fired the gun, and it hit the camera operator, the young lady, hits her, bullet goes through her, hits another guy behind. The guy survives. The woman passes away, sadly. A on-set accident to the level of Brandon Lee passing away. Not, his was more in-depth, obviously, but this is a massive accident. Investigation still going on as to what happened. Major bummer, and I've seen a lot of people coming out, because Baldwin's a big anti-gun guy, and so, had he taken the proper precautions like he should, who on the set should have taken better precautions? The physician came in and said, time out. Nobody even said fire in the hole, quiet on the set. Like, that wasn't called, so why was the gun even fired? The protocols weren't being followed. A lot more to this is going to come out. In the middle of this, you have the crew, the union, the IASTI crew coming out, fighting their contracts. So my immediate thought is, man, is this a good or a bad thing for the crew's fight against trying to get better deals and get better working conditions? I mean, obviously they can come out and say, well, you're working us to the bone. Mistakes are going to happen. And so therefore this could help their cause. Like, hey, we need more people. We need more on-set, coordinators and overseers and what have you, stuff like that. So I'm wondering if they can use this in their fight. That really sucks to say that sentence. Use a death of a person who shouldn't have died in this tragic way. But I'm curious if now the studios are going to say, you guys are messing up. Look at this, type thing. Hopefully it doesn't go down that route. Again, prayers for the young lady. She was a phenomenal filmmaker, a camera woman. From everything that I've read, she's been involved in many projects and she just great at her job. So it's very sad to see that happen. And then we'll see what happens with Baldwin going forward. They've shut down production right now. The film is called Rust, to figure it all out. So intriguing that Baldwin said, maybe we shouldn't rush to conclusions and wait till all the facts come out after someone shoots a gun. Interesting that he would say that sentence, because I feel there's a lot of police officers who would say, hey, maybe you should say that sentence about us. All right, we're going to wrap things up with our second act there, with the news, wrapping up with the news and now moving on to the DC discussion. All right, casting news here in the DC discussion. Sorry, I forgot to let you guys know back in casting. We're going to wait. Brendan Fraser has been cast in Batgirl as Firefly, the villain. This is awesome. This is great. Anything that Brendan Fraser wants to do, I'm all on board for. I'm glad that we don't have the fanboys anymore. They're like, wait a second, isn't he in Doom Patrol? How can he play two roles? That's not right, man. Well, shut up. He just is the voiceover for Doom Patrol in the first place. So it's not like you're seeing his face every week. B, Doom Patrol sucks. C, Fraser, give him all the roles. And he's going to be playing a villain, Firefly. This is great. I'm all on board. I'm even more so. I was already interested in this Batgirl project. Now I'm even more so interested in this. Couple of things going forward. We found out that movie, The Trench, that we were supposed to get, Aquaman, The Trench, then Aquaman 2, The Trench got shelved and put away. That was technically supposed to be a Black Manta spinoff. We kind of thought that. But that means they have more to do for the Black Manta character. Awesome, because I thought that was a great character, and I look forward to that coming back. Also tells me that maybe in Aquaman 2, we're not done with Black Manta. Bring that back. Also, arguably the best comic costume on film that we have. We should put that poll up there. Who has the best live-action costume from the comics? Because that thing is spot on. Lastly, talking about the Batman, there was a talk of the evolution of the Catwoman character, and how you're going to see that in this film, and you're going to see a lot more depth to the Catwoman character in the Batman movie that comes out in March. To me, reading the tea leaves says that we may get a Catwoman spin-off film in this world. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. I having not seen it, maybe it might not be great. We all had to suffer through that Halle Berry Catwoman movie, but maybe if this one's in this darker world and there's something more to her being a cat burglar and a little more depth to this character and Selena Kyle character, I'm in. That sounds like fun. That is going to wrap up DC discussion. Moving on to the Marvel Minute. Nia DaCosta, famous director, has come out with a hot take. Hot take that Captain America is the villain of Endgame. What? Or Infinity War, I guess. That maybe there's a world where we blame Captain America because he refused to sacrifice Vision in Infinity War, and then that caused Thanos to make it, get the stones, snap, bing. We all know what happened. It's an interesting theory. It's a fun theory, a fun spin. It tells you that no matter what you do, there's always going to be someone looking at the negative side of things, right? It doesn't matter that he wound up saving the world down the road. Had he just sacrificed a life earlier on, we never would have had this problem. She's not wrong. It's her opinion, but I'm going to stick with Captain America as a hero and not the villain there. There is rumors of a World War Hulk movie that is coming. They're going to start filming it next year, and the events of She-Hulk series coming to Disney Plus next year are going to lead us into a World War Hulk film involving She-Hulk, involving Mark Ruffalo in Hulk. Essentially the Hulk getting his own getting his own solo movie. It's funny because the MCU still considers the last Hulk film canon, but then Ruffalo, you just replaced Ruffalo as the actor. So to call this his first solo movie is actually inaccurate because that movie is so canon in the MCU. Regardless, interested to see where they go with that. That's a totally off-world thing. I never got into the World War Hulk books, but I know they're super popular, so I'm sure a lot of people will love to see that. Lastly, Tom Holland teased this is the end of Spider-Man. But this trilogy is the end of this arc of Spider-Man, right? It got people all in a frenzy thinking we're not going to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man again. I promise you folks, we will. He's booked for more films. There's Avengers 5 and etc. going forward. But there's clarification to this Spider-Man movie is the end of this arc where they said this Spider-Man is essentially Spider-Man Endgame. This is the big one where so much is going to happen. This is going to be a lengthy movie. A ton of stuff is going to happen here where it's going to push us forward to a whole new universe for the MCU. So they're almost calling this Spidey Endgame. All right. As if I wasn't in before, right? I think we all kind of saw this coming. This is a lot of wild things are going to happen. Then we have to go Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and then put it all back together. Scarlet Witch is going to factor in. All sorts of crazy stuff. So we know all of this is coming. That's awesome that this is how they treated it. And then where do we go forward with Tom Holland as Spider-Man? Granted, he's supposed to be in Multiverse of Madness. He's supposed to be in these other projects going forward. Yes. But then what? You're not going to give the kid a fourth and a fifth and a sixth film. Maybe. Yes. Don't know. Eventually, Tom Holland's got to turn 35 years old, right? So they got to figure that out at some point. Just film all the movies now. Let's go. Just film them all up. Give me 9 Spider-Man movies. Film now while he's young, and then we're good. All right. That's it for the Marvel Minute. Let's wrap things up by going forward. In the theaters this week, we have Antlers. No, I won't be watching it. I ran into some antlers earlier with my car, and that was enough for me. That sufficed my antlers. Man, this shit looks creepy. No thanks. I'm probably going to pass on that. But my spooky thing that I do want to see is Last Night in Soho. That comes out this weekend in the theaters. I will do my darndest to see it because I want that to be my new spooky thing to see for the final season of Spooky that we're doing here, the final film of spooky season. Wow, those words did not go in order as they should have. Those are your big theater releases coming out this week. Again, French Dispatch is released wide, so I had it near me, but some of you folks might have been listening like, I don't know French Dispatch. You should now. It should be going wide now, so there you go. You can check that out. Netflix, their big film, Army of Thieves, we're getting this week. HBO, we're getting Love Life Season 2. That's that Anna Kendrick series. Not bad. Wasn't bad. There were some questions I had about her character, but the show itself, not bad at all. And now I'm curious what we're going to do. She had a baby at the... Oh, spoiler. Sorry. Either way, kind of curious where that goes. Thank you guys for enjoying. Coming up, Take Two podcast-wise, of course, we have the Pull the Drops on Thursday. We have a specialty episode. I had a good friend of mine and a great podcaster, Mr. Brian Thomas, jump on with me, and we did a James Bond breakdown of all the Daniel Craig films. That specialty episode is dropping later on this week. It's going to be all about James Bond and all the Daniel Craig films. We give you our review of the most recent one together. Spoiler alert, his thoughts align to mine, but more harshly. So if you thought I was harsh on the film, wait till you get a load of this. But the man knows his stuff. He knows all about Batman, all about Bond. He is a aficionado, a smart dude. He's a buff. He's a Bond buff. Anyway, that drops later on into your feeds. And then this weekend, you're going to get the Realm of Take Two. They are back for October. I feel like it's been a long month. I know a lot has happened in this month for our show, but I feel like it's been forever since we got in the Realm. But they will be back this weekend, so tune in. So you're going to get a bonus episode. You're going to get the Realm this weekend. So a lot of Take Two podcast stuff. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube so you can watch the interview with Joe Towne there. Good-looking fella. And so you can see his face and mine, again, which you already probably know, on our YouTube channel as well. We also put the shows all on YouTube for fun stuff. There you can see pictures of the blackened bourbon whiskey it's not bourbon, it's a whiskey, that we have as well. All right, I'm rambling here, but this has been a fantastic show. Thank you guys for joining Take Two Podcast. Again, hit us up on all the socials. A rating and review would be amazing. I would love to get that quick 5-star rating and review at any point in time would be great. Or what means maybe more to me personally is the side text. Bo, John, Katz, Shy, talking to you guys this past week actually really was quite lovely. Thank you, gentlemen, and everybody else out there. 667-365-8253 at Take Two Podcast across the board. Facebook, Instagram, you can join there. Or Take Two Podcast at gmail.com. Feel free to shoot an email. We haven't got one of them in a while. Looking forward to everything we have coming up this week and looking forward to wrapping up October. Everybody, happy Halloween. Enjoy a nice, safe, fun, spooky Halloween. Check our socials because I got some spooky stuff in my own personal house that hopefully go well. I just got a fog machine. Oh, baby. And some good stuff there. So I hope everyone has a great, great Halloween this weekend. Nice and safe. And if you don't mind sharing some costumes and some events that maybe you guys got going on, that'd be fun to look at, fun to check out. Episode 263. My name is Brian. Take Two Podcast. Have a great night, everybody.